So good day, everybody. I'd like to add to Lance's welcome. Thank you very much for joining our call. We have had a tremendous past 12 months here at Ribbon, and it's a really good time for us to get together and connect in a webinar and talk about some of the key trends that we're seeing, especially in the U.S. regional market. Specifically today, we're going to talk about UCaaS, Unified Communications as a Service, branded KBS or kandy-business solutions here. And our Edge solutions, which came through a key acquisition we had last year. You probably saw the press release of Ribbon's acquisition of Edgewater Networks. And together, they combine to provide our service providers a really powerful solution out to your SMBs that are both in your territory and out of your territory. So we'll talk about UCaaS, what it has to offer for you, what the total cost of ownership looks like versus CapEx, and our UCaaS solutions, and again, with our Edge solutions combined to wrap it together. Brian, if you could go to the next slide. So as you can see from this slide, Ribbon is a market leader pretty much in every area that we touch, and that is through strong investments in our product development, also our customer support, but also in customer experience. And that's something that I think every one of our existing regional Kandy carriers can attest to about how easy it is to launch these services. We're not going to be able to get into talking about all the different products that you're seeing represented here. So I would like to invite you to our annual Global Customer and Partner Conference coming up here. It's called Perspectives, and it will start April 28th in Washington, D.C. If you have not received an invitation, please reach out and let us know. We'll be glad to help you get registered, and hope to see you there. With that, I'm going to thank you again for joining and hand it over to Brian.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So let me take you through a little state of the UCaaS market to start off our discussion today. So we have some hot off the press information that I thought would be interesting to share today. So annually we do a market research survey, and we go out and we talk to business decision makers in the telephony and data space of their companies, and we want to understand where they are in their thinking around particularly unified communications. And when I say unified communications as a service, I mean that generically as hosted PBX, or it used to be known as IP-Centrex, products like that are cloud-based communication solutions. So we have just finished this market research survey in the beginning of March, so this is very, very new information. We went and talked to small biz, we talked to mid-size, we talked to large business, and this is really just a teaser of some information that I thought I'd share out today. We have a number of webinars that we're going to be scheduling over the next couple of months where we're going to dive into this a little bit more. As Elizabeth mentioned, in Perspectives 19th, our user conference here in a couple of weeks, we're going to have a session on a lot of this market research, but I'm giving you some early information today to kind of whet your appetite for what we found in our market research. So the first thing is, what do we set out to learn? And just to kind of paint the picture of how our methodology for going through this research. So we found decision makers within businesses, both, like I said, both small and large, and we want to understand what their infrastructure is. So what their infrastructure is around voice, internet, who they're buying from, what their current use patterns are in their infrastructure. And then we basically broke the survey into two main sections. One is targeting the non-adopters, the folks that have not yet moved to an IP voice solution, and then the IP adopters, the ones that have. So in the adopter section, we really want to understand what they're doing today and what they think and what they know about IP communications, and when they might move to IP communications, or what would make them move to IP communications. In the adopter section, we're looking more at what did they buy and why did they buy it. So what features were important to them? What were the key considerations that they made in order to move from where they were before to an IP-based communication solutions? So this is the core of the survey that we did. There's a number of other topics that we explored, things like security and SD-WAN and Microsoft Teams. We have all that information. We're going to be sharing that out with y'all over the next several months. So look for that, like I said, in the not too distant future. So the first thing I want to share with you from the research was just basic phone systems. So as you think about how this is broken out, is broken out into 4 major categories. The first one you're seeing here is 1 to 20 employees, and you can see, not surprisingly, this big blue section being business lines. Most of these small businesses are just buying business lines to run their business. And as we get progressively larger, as you can start seeing here in the 20 to 100 segment, more into key systems, starting to get more PBX oriented, and even into some mixed environments where they have both TDM and IP environments in their network. In the more mid-market accounts, business lines start to fade away more into the PBX space. And in the larger segment of the market, obviously, these are businesses that have much larger voice infrastructures that are running them in lots of different ways. So just a good sort of sampling of how businesses are structured today. So when we look at that data, we basically drew a line and said, well, what are these companies doing from an infrastructure perspective? Have they adopted IP, or are they still in legacy technologies, TDM-based technologies? And as you can see in the I guess purple on my screen, or pinkish color, there's still a lot. Even though there has been a fair bit of IP adoption, there's still a tremendous amount of market that has not yet moved to IP. So this market is evolving quickly. There is a tremendous amount of push to move companies away from older technologies, both on the service provider side, by getting rid of these old technologies, and the customers themselves wanting new technologies. So we're seeing it on both sides, and this has been a very, very dynamic market. But I think the good news, as you look at this slide, is there's still a lot of adoption left to go, and there's still a lot of market out there that you can attack as a service provider to move them into a new set of products and move them into a much more dynamic product set in hosted UCaaS. So here's another question we asked about timing of their current phone system. So when did they buy their current phone system? And in large part, let me point you towards sort of the purple and gray boxes. And these are the systems that are older than 10 years old. So in most cases, in most of these segments, what you're seeing is respondents telling us that their phone system is at least, I'd say 20 to 30% of the time, their phone system is over 10 years old. So obviously, the refresh cycle on a phone system, yes, you can limp along with an old phone system for a while, but a lot of these customers are going to be entering the marketplace. They have older phone systems that are going antiquated, end of life. You can't buy parts for, what have you. So there's a good segment of the market here that is just going to have to enter the sales market for a new system. So you want to be there, obviously, when that customer is looking to make that switch. So here's another slide. We asked these non-adopters, and we really wanted to understand what would cause them what would impact their decision to move to unified communications. This segment here is looking at sort of the larger small business, the 21 to 100 employees. But we have a whole bunch of responses below this, but we broke them into these 4 large categories. Economic, obviously, a lot of companies are always going to use the economics of what they're buying as a purchasing decision. And change event on the far right side is also another one where, yes, if they are growing and need to add capacity, or like I mentioned earlier, they have an old system that is about to die, that's a change event where they're looking to make a switch. But I think the middle 2 bars are really the most interesting thing here. And what we saw, at least in this segment, and I think it's consistent across other market segments, was that the provider and the feature set were virtually equivalent in terms of importance to switch. So what does that mean? So obviously you would think that the features of the product would be one of the more important things that, how the product works, the various things that it does. But really the provider themselves is as much an important factor in that regard. So, you think about how you can go to market, particularly as a rural carrier going against a larger, more strong, competitive environment. Bringing out your strengths as a provider and showing what you can do as a provider, and kind of playing up that home field advantage that you offer is really, really important. And customers are telling us that's a very important buying criteria. So I plucked out one last feature here, which was around video conferencing. So I thought this was interesting when, we looked at a whole bunch of different features here, but I think video conferencing is one where, you think of businesses as not really using newer features, maybe in your current customer footprint, very, very basic features. But if you kind of look at the three boxes, which would be sort of the yellow, purple, and gray boxes, these would be, how valuable is video conferencing to their business? And it's really a huge percentage of these businesses are using video conferencing today. You can see here 75, 80% of businesses see a high level of value in a product like video conferencing. And going along with video conferencing, there's capabilities like collaboration and document sharing and things like that. So you start to think about you as from a go-to-market perspective, the criticality of delivering these advanced features like video conferencing, like collaboration, like mobile integration. I mean, they're absolutely critical to your solution. So that's a really good data point to say that customers are moving into these advanced features and really, really expect them in the service offering that you're going to be delivering them. So interest and purchase intent. So the first thing here is interest. Obviously, there's a high level of interest in the product. As we explain to these customers what Unified Communications did to them, there is a high level of interest. And I thought it was also interesting that there was a high level of purchase intent within the next couple of years as well. So roughly 60% of customers are looking to buy a solution over the next several years. So as we kind of sum up this whole market research picture, you can see that customers are in the market for new solutions. They are looking for advanced features, and they're looking to make that transition. So you as a service provider need to meet them in the market and have those kind of products and be ready to respond to their buying needs. So I'll leave market research there. And like I said, we got lots more we're going to be sharing with you and making that available to you. But I want to turn the topic to more financial oriented. And this is the topic of total cost of ownership between a CapEx solution and an OpEx solution. And in specific, how it relates to the hosted PBX, Unified Communications as a Service marketplace. So you think about you as a service provider wanting to get into this market, selling UCaaS services to your customer base. Forever today, service providers would look to buy and manage their own infrastructure and launch that out to their customers. Well, I think so that's really the CapEx perspective. The OpEx is more of the wholesale provider, where the wholesale provider has the application server, and you would go to market as white labeling that service, meaning putting your brand name on it, but wholesaling the actual infrastructure and capabilities from another provider. Historically, CapEx was really the only game in town for many, many years. And I think over the last probably at least 5 years, the wholesale providers have really kind of taken this market, taken a lot of this market in terms of delivering a high-quality product that service providers, particularly service providers that don't want to make those huge investments, can go to and adopt as their service offering. So let me take you through that a little bit more and just kind of share some pros and cons from each approach. Certainly, as we think about CapEx, so the idea of you buying and investing in hardware in your network, the biggest pro with that is owner's economics. Better margins, potentially better economic returns because you're owning it and you're flexing your economics in owner's economics around having that and selling that out to your customers. You have some probably a little more flexibility in pricing and customization. But, along with those owner's economics, on the con side of this, it comes with an investment that's required. Obviously, there's a big upfront investment. There are maintenance payments. There are USF changes associated with CapEx versus OpEx. There's updates that you need to make, so you're investing not only the purchase price of the equipment, but you're also investing a lot in your network to make this product a reality. So, there's two sides of the coin to the CapEx equation, as there's two sides of the coin to the OpEx equation. So, one of the things we hear a lot from providers is they really want to focus on the selling aspects of unified communications. They don't want to mess with the back office. They don't want to, have to manage and maintain an application server. They really want to just go out and sell that product. One of the things you're going to find with a wholesale provider is, it's incumbent upon them to make sure that best-in-breed features are out there, that they're always, at the cutting edge of the market, pushing new features out to their customer base because it's a very, very competitive market, and they want to be at the front end of whatever is out there and whatever customers are looking for. I'd say that the pricing is quite attractive as you think about what you get and the things that go along with it, and I'm going to show that to you in a little more detail here in a few slides. Financial flexibility is a big one as well. So you think about getting into this service, it's the classic rent versus own. Here in a renting environment, you have flexibility going forward. You might find that, your product's going gangbusters, and then that gives you the motivation to invest in some CapEx equipment downstream. Or you might find that the financial flexibility of this product saves you from making those network investments. So a lot of benefits associated with financial flexibility. And then certainly on the con side, you don't have those owner's economics, right? You're renting versus buying. And you do have some lack of feature flexibility. Typically, the wholesale provider is going to create various bundles for you, and you would resell those bundles to your customers. I think Sarah will spend a little time talking about some of our features and how you can actually customize some stuff, but generally speaking, you're going to be selling pre-configured bundles to your end customer. So next, let me talk about CapEx and OpEx in a very simple comparison. So here's a service provider that expects to sell about 7,500 seats over the next 5 years. And in a very simple price comparison, we'll look at it from an OpEx and a CapEx perspective. So on the OpEx side, it's a straight $10 a seat per month. On the CapEx side, irrespective of the equipment that you need to run the service, you'd buy licensing for $50 a month, and you'd pay $10 a month, 10% a year in annual maintenance. And just for ease of computation, we'll just ignore things that would be on the same on both sides of the equation, like installation resources or equipment that would be the same on both sides. And then let's sort of stack these up and see how they compare. So, at a first glance, you'd say, well, obviously, on the left-hand side of this, the OpEx equation is, quite simple. It's $10 a month for however many seats you're paying. So you have the advantage of you're only paying for what you're selling. So if you look at the total cost of ownership over 5 years, the cost is, $1.9 million. If we look at CapEx, right, you have the upfront investment of the hardware and licensing, and you have annual maintenance payments to keep that system current. So you can see there's quite a bit of cost disparity here. But really, is that the whole story? So let's think about this a little bit deeper and dive into these numbers a little bit more. So, looking at the CapEx solution, here's that same $750K that I talked about earlier. So let's think about some of the below the line costs that sort of go into making this a complete solution. So the first thing is you're probably going to need to add some resources to manage the back office nature of this product. So you have a resource you need to add to manage this. I used a fully loaded labor rate of $80,000. Again, that includes all benefits and such. So there's another $400,000 that go into the equation. The next thing is you're going to need to train that resource, and then continually train that resource. So there's some technical training associated with that. Platform upgrades. So I think what a lot of people don't realize is, when they make that initial investment, is they're almost certainly going to need to upgrade that platform to add new features and capabilities. So those are generally new licenses, new hardware investments, new training. For ease of computation, I added a couple of events at $100,000 each. And in most cases, these are the licenses that you're having to add to your portfolio and then sell those to your customers. Now let's think about two common things that we hear in this marketplace that certainly may not think about from a cost perspective, but they are real dollar value. So the first thing is what I'll call capacity-driven sales losses. And how this manifests itself is your sales team is out selling. They make a deal. They go back to the back office and say, all right, I made this sale. How long before I can turn them up? And he says, well, we're kind of busy back here. It'll be 2 months before I can get to it. And then the customer walks away because they don't want to wait the 2 months to get turned up. So that's lost revenue. And in the case of this, in this simple analysis, I said that happens 5 times a year, so 25 times over that 5-year period. So that's $375,000 in lost revenue because you did not have that product available when the customer needed it. The next thing I hear a lot about is product-driven sales losses. So say you haven't made updates to your platform. Say you don't have that unified communications, or I should say video conferencing or collaboration product that your customer's looking for. So that feature deficit costs sales as well because they're out in a competitive marketplace looking at other providers. If you don't have that solution, they're going to walk somewhere else. So, from a food for thought sort of financial comparison, now when you start comparing some of these other costs that bear into this, the 5-year TCO for the CapEx starts to grow, and in this example, it's roughly $2.1 million. So, I guess my takeaway from this analysis is, consider all the things that go into that cost analysis, when you make that decision between CapEx and OpEx. So lastly, as I leave the TCO analysis, what about the case where you've already made that investment in a feature server in your network? Does it make sense to maybe look somewhere else, look at an OpEx-based offer to instead of continuing to use your CapEx-based feature server that's in your network? I'd say there's 3 key things that you might want to think about. One is if you're not fully utilizing your investment. So if you've purchased that server, but you never really fully implemented a service offering, so you're still thinking about, or maybe you've dabbled a little bit and added a couple of customers, but never really fully made it a product, it might be a good opportunity to take a look at other options that are out there. The next, resource limitations. I spoke about this a little on the previous slide. Sales opportunities exist, but there's resources that just limit the ability to turn up those customers. And you also have the case where your technical resources are leaving or retiring, so you're very resource limited in how you can support this product from a back office perspective. And so you might want to think about really outsourcing that functionality to a wholesale provider. And then lastly, if you're falling behind competitively, if you're just, you're going to have a bunch of customers, yes, that are going to need just basic PBX or key system functions. But even in a small market, you have things like school districts and municipal buildings and hospitals that all need cutting edge, latest and greatest feature functionalities. And they're going to expect that from their service provider. So if you don't have those functions, they're probably going to look somewhere else. So wholesale provider gives you that leg up because they're always going to keep that product up and running and current and ready to go. So that's my takeaways on the CapEx versus OpEx comparison. Now I want to pass it over to Sarah, and she's going to talk a little bit about our Kandy hosted unified communication solution.
Thank you, Brian. So I wanted to highlight some of the notable things that are kind of recent happenings, and really the main focus here being just to show you some things. I know that from the beginning, Elizabeth showed kind of our market leadership in areas. And we're going to provide this. Some of these articles are available inside the documents, but this as well will be available, and you can click on any of these articles. And at the end of this, we'll also watch a brief video, and I'll go over that. But we recently launched with AT&T, and they promoted this as well, an API marketplace. And that is built upon our Kandy application programming interfaces. And what they found is that a lot of their customers were looking for ways that they can embed communications in their processes, in their applications, in their websites, and making it simpler, easier, faster to communicate with their customers in real time. And so that's a really nice article that you can read, and I believe it may also be available in the documents there. Another thing is with Kandy. Kandy, again, is bits and pieces and morsels of things that you can consume. It's all software as a service type of things. Similarly, Hertz, we've all know about Hertz, a rental car company that operates in multiple countries, a lot of different locations, not only in the U.S., outside of the U.S., but there are about 3,000 of those between U.S. and Canada. And they are moving their field and their headquarters offices over to our unified communications. And a lot of those remote locations are now interconnected, and making them be able to not only see what's going on, but communicate more efficiently, effectively, and cost savings for them too. And so, again, that nationwide launch, again, looking at people who are using that. Not only the unified communication piece of that, but Hertz is also using our EdgeMark gateways in the enterprises to also make that more efficient and get the metrics on that. KPN is a company based out of the Netherlands, and they are doing something very similar to what AT&T is doing. Again, taking those application programming interfaces, and there's a lot of developers out there that want to help businesses, whether it be software vendors adding value around things, but they want to help these companies jump the S-curve, okay, and make themselves more innovative, make themselves more applicable to customers, and really help them take the processes that they're using in their businesses and make it easier to do business with them, increase customer satisfaction, customer experience, and the like. And then Pioneer, and I know that we've got one of the Pioneer people on the phone with us, Melissa is on, and what they're doing in Oklahoma, in rural Oklahoma area, is that they are using the Kandy Unified Communications and are putting that as replacement for key systems and PBXs, and even their customers that are looking to replace PRI. And they were able to launch in as little as 3 months with us. And I'll let the video speak to what's going on there. But without having to do a lot of internal development, similar to the things that Brian was talking about. If you did it yourself and you built it yourself, then there would be a whole lot of extra expense and time having to put that together, and resources. And then finally, Empire Access. Again, very similar to what Brian was talking about, using some of the features, whether it's video conferencing, collaboration, mobility, but also our call center, and using that as, and they're in the Northeast U.S., again, a telco there. that added our unified communications to their portfolio. And again, that being one-stop communications for not only their landline, mobility, fiber, any of those types of customers. So Brian, if you can now play that video for everybody, and if you'll just hold on a second, he'll launch this video. You can watch the testimonial, and again, kudos to one of our customers.
My name's Melissa Barker, and I work for Pioneer Telephone Cooperative in Kingfisher, Oklahoma. I've been with the company for 24 years, and I do translations and technical support for our departments that provide dial tone, long distance, and Kandy cloud services. Pioneer is a household name in western Oklahoma. We are known for providing the latest technology to our customers. We want to offer them the same services that they could get in a major metro area. We serve 76 exchanges and employ approximately 570 people. Up till recently, most of our businesses have had legacy PBXs and key systems, and there's still a lot of PRIs in our network, and our customers are looking for a solution that allowed them to have a hosted product where they didn't have the investment of equipment that was going to eventually age out. We wanted something that would go to market very quickly. Kandy met those needs for us, and we were able to roll it out in 3 months. Kandy allows them to choose their products based on user. So we have customers that are buying like the Voice Plus seat, UC Mobile. We do have some Smart Office seats, and we were able to actually brand Smart Office with our company logo. It's been a great experience. We first deployed it in the fall of 2017 with a school system. Since then, we've brought on several more school systems. We have car dealerships, oil field companies, enterprise customers. We have town halls, attorneys' offices. So the product works well for many different applications. We tried to launch our own similar hosted product. There was a lot of challenges with doing that, and Kandy took care of those issues for us. So my experience has been, it's taken a lot of the stress and the in-house work of the development of a portal. The portal is the key to being able to manage your subscribers and provision them easily. And it was a quick go-to-market solution for us. We needed to find a product that would help us stay competitive, and Kandy's allowed us to do that.
Again, thank you, Melissa. I know she's on the call with us as well for doing that video testimonial. So again, this is something that is modular, that you can plug and play what you need. So if you can go on to the next slide here. All right, so let's talk about the breadth of the offering. And one of the things that we hear from a lot of people, and again, Melissa spoke to this too, is that some of your business customers will need some of what you offer, some will need a subset of what you offer. So the Kandy Unified Communications, again, it's a pay by the drink, pay by the consumption model. It has all of the PBX, key system, unified communications functionality built in. And so we have developed several different modules, if you will, that you can put together to make your packages and make them specific to what your market needs, what your customer needs, the type of segments that you're offering services to, or if you have one big segment and you want to offer the same thing to everybody, it's up to you. We also use standard SIP phones, and we have a lot of different ones that we allow to connect up. We do all the testing on those. And we also, for two particular types, both Polycom and Yealink, we use zero-touch provisioning. What that means is when you plug the phone in right out of the box, it gets an IP address, and then what you program in the Kandy portal that Melissa was talking about in her video, all of that gets programmed and then gets pushed down to the device so that it automatically comes up with that configuration and any changes that you make. So it really simplifies the deployment there. We also have conferencing and collaboration, anything from just audio conferencing like a reservationless audio bridge to full-fledged video conferencing, screen sharing, whiteboarding, all of that. So those are all pieces that you can add to a particular package, or you can have separately, people can do a la carte. We utilize a technology called WebRTC, which is real-time communications through a browser. And we utilize that in both our desktop and our mobile clients. But the end user has no idea that there's a browser behind it making all this work. And when you have to deploy clients, that these can be very time-consuming and labor-intensive to deploy. So we've really taken that frustration out of that. And those are all built into our clients. Our contact center, we have several different varieties because we know that your customers don't need the same thing. Sometimes they need different things. Sometimes they need very basic call center all the way up to multi-modality with social integration and email and chat and all that. But again, there are different packages that you can utilize along with call recording and screen recording. And then unified messaging from basic voicemail through the telephone, voicemail to email, if you want voicemail transcription, if you want fax, you want auto attendant, all of those are solutions that you can bolt on and utilize as well. And then finally, the rest of the offering is you may have the greatest product in the world, but if you don't tell anybody about it, then no, you're not going to get noticed and you're not going to make money on it. So we leverage, we provide go-to-market assistance that you can leverage along with collateral, videos, tools, end-user training, and all of this is no charge to you. And so that's a huge difference that we have versus the competition. And I definitely recommend that you leverage that to help the customer experience. Let's go to the next slide and let's talk about the key advantages in this. Because our solution is brandable, you can put your brand on it. It's white labeled is what we call it. That end user portal, from admin, you can go in and make those changes. You don't have to have us go do that for you. Along with the clients, those clients, we call them smart office clients, but you can call it whatever you want. Those are all brandable also with colors and functionality via admin. And so again, you don't have to have, you can go to market straight away with that. All of the collateral, like the data sheets, quick reference cards, user guides, and such, those are also brandable by you. And so all of this, as you go to market, it doesn't have to say powered by Candy, powered by Ribbon. It's all you. And so you can customize your offering. The Omni clients are the WebRTC clients, that technology that really do make it easier to deploy and support and maintain. And then launch assistance, again, because we provide a lot of that as no charge to you, those are things that many of our customers would have spent anywhere from $25,000 to $30,000 with a consultant to come in and do that if they don't have teams to do it. And a lot of times the time that it takes to do that and build them yourself, even if you had resources internally, that just really streamlines your go-to-market launch. And so we have a lot of tools that you can use to really go to market faster. And then many of our customers find that a lot of times their customers want to integrate certain pieces and applications into the communication solution. And so because our clients allow you to integrate a lot of those into it without having to have extra development, it's super easy. It's totally integratable. So again, those are things that allow you to have advantages over other products out there as you customize and offer your solution. So let's take a look at the next slide. So what about specific advantages for the rural market? I think the big takeaway here is that it is turnkey, and of course that's a common consultant and other term, but they really are turnkey solutions that not only help save you time, but time is money, and increase that customer experience, customer satisfaction. Another big thing here as far as advantages is the interoperability. The fact that we test phones, we test gateways, we test applications, other devices, so you don't have to. That lead time right there to do that, every single release and making sure everything is working in conjunction, you don't have to do that. We've done that for you. And of course, obviously the Ribbon products, including the EdgeMark and other devices, help make that customer conversion and migration much simpler. Also, Brian talked about the CapEx versus OpEx model, and because there's relatively little cash outlay that you have to have in this, it's not a big CapEx at all. And you can, instead of building it from the ground up, now you pay for what you consume, pay for what you sell and operate. And so that allows you then to focus on what your customer needs rather than being so cash constrained. And because we have integrated the WebRTC technology into those clients, it really presses the easy button for you in deploying these types of services to your customers. And we are all mobile. Many people work from home, work in the office, but maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week outside the office. And so having the clients on your computer as well as your mobile device, as well as using an IP phone, we see a lot of that, obviously gaining traction and just making that even easier for you. Let's go to the next slide. So how do you make money? I think the biggest way to make money in this is in saving money. If you can leverage what we've done as far as utilizing our express onboarding, that's a process that takes, as Melissa spoke about, less than 3 months you can go to market with our express onboarding process. Leveraging marketing assistance, the branded collateral. We even have canned lead generation campaigns with assets like videos, infographics, ebooks, and other things that are of interest items for your customers. And so you can really scale your business without having to know every aspect, take it apart, put it back together, build it in your own network. You don't have to do that. Including mobility and desktop clients in your offering, we include those in the packages. So those are not added costs for you to do. And again, the way that we've set that up to make that integrated, tightly integrated with not only your resources, but your customers. For instance, in those clients and portals, you can have links to other things that you as a company do, pay your bill, maybe other dashboards and things. Here you see an example of the portal that really is a huge selling feature. Instead of you having to update that every single time a new content is added, a new release is added, we do that for you. And this is all brandable with that. So how do you make money? Make money by saving money, go to market faster, being able to customize your offering and differentiate that with what makes you special. And as Brian also noted, one of the major things, a tipping factor for customers making those decisions is the provider. And so if you are that trusted provider in territory there where you are a partner with them, these are ways that you can also package that up. So let's go to the next slide here.
Okay, so let's transition to talking a little bit about Edge solutions. And since we have about 15 minutes left, I want to be respectful and have some time left over for Q&A. This is a deep topic around the Edge portfolio, and we'll probably have another webinar in the not too distant future that dives into this a little bit deeper. But let me kind of paint this picture at a high level about what the Edge portfolio, which we've termed network edge orchestration. So that's the combined solution of the appliances that would go out on every single site. So the EdgeMark Intelligent Edge device that I'll walk through here in a second on some of the features that are inherent in that product. And then EdgeView, which is your cloud-based command and control platform for all your devices. So think of a network of Edgemark devices, and EdgeView is your element management tool and your remote monitoring and troubleshooting tool to ensure that you can deliver voice services in a high quality fashion. So first off, let's talk a little bit about the Edgemark. So, it does, it's thought of as a enterprise session border controller. So it is that sort of security appliance for a VoIP service. So that's sort of that SIP firewall functionality where it's doing deep packet inspection on all those SIP packets and making sure there's nothing malicious that's going on, helping you cut down on things like toll fraud and DDoS attacks and things like that. But really, it's a full functional edge device that does things like WAN routing. It does NAT DHCP, ALG, and B2B-UA. So ALG is a SIP proxy typically used for UCaaS. Back-to-back user agent is doing the header manipulation for products like SIP trunking. So, in the case of SIP trunking, if you're supporting some sort of IP PBX, say, whatever, an Avaya or a Mitel PBX, the Edgemark would act as the demarcation point between your network and the customer's network and do all that header manipulation to ensure that you can quickly and easy offer voice services, SIP trunks to that unique IP PBX. I'll talk a little bit about SD-WAN here in a second, and then some of the obvious functions that we do from a ESBC perspective, traffic shaping, PSDM gateway, so we can offer both analog FXS ports for things like fax machines and FXO ports for using business continuity or disaster recovery out to using these analog ports for things like 911 services or what have you. And then voice quality monitor is a big part of what the Edgemark does. So it is the eyes and ears of your product, of your service offer. If you think about launching Kandy and having that on your customer, the Edgemark acts as that voice quality monitor, make sure that service is operating up to your expectations. And that's really where EdgeView comes into play. So EdgeView kind of does four core things. It helps you in provisioning and managing. So we have a zero-touch provisioning function within the service where, once you go plug that device in on a customer site, it'll come up, it'll recognize it as yours, and it'll point it back to EdgeView for further provisioning. The monitoring and alerting, so it's monitoring the voice quality. It's measuring both the in and out voice quality and making MOS score measurements. And if something would fall below a certain threshold, it would kick off alerts and kick off various higher level analytics that enable you to do troubleshooting or remediation. So once there is an alert that's taking place, you have all that information at your fingertips. You have the ladder diagrams. You have the PCAPs where you can easily look at what's going on with that particular customer issue and then quickly remediate it. And then reporting and analyzing, looking at how your network is working in a more of a macro sense, looking at your KPIs and your service quality analytics. A big part of what we hear, what we hear from our customers is how it helps them drive cost savings. And here's a couple of things that really get to the benefit of the product over time. Installation's one where you think about problem installations, and if you can cut down on those problem installations that take a day instead of a couple of hours and have a bunch of people on the phone, that is real dollar cost savings. Truck rolls, certainly from a rural perspective, you could have some long distance travel out to a customer site if something's gone wrong. So as much as you can cut down on those truck rolls, the better, and clearly a cost benefit associated with that. Customer care, we hear, one of the big benefits is really cutting off problems before they begin. But then if a customer were to call in with a problem, you have the tools at your fingertips to help them solve the issue. And then churn is a huge element. So particularly in the early life of a customer, we see a lot, we talk to a lot of customers where they have issues with early life. So within the first 30 to 60 days, there's voice quality issues, there's problems in the land that they can't get their fingertips around, and the customer ultimately leaves. So as much as you can cut down on those churn events, it pays huge economic benefits. We have a SD-WAN solution. It's really, the idea around our SD-WAN solution is targeting service quality and application and SIP prioritization across multiple WAN connections. So if you think about putting an edge mark on the device, you have your primary connection. Your secondary might be, say, a wireless or LTE connection. It could be DSL, it could be whatever. But it's really, our SD-WAN solution is actively managing those two connections such that if there is either a failure or even degradation across your primary connection, it will move traffic over to that secondary connection. And in the case of a SIP session, it'll keep that call active and move that call back and forth across those WAN connections until it reaches a good steady state on that primary connection. So as I kind of sum up what the EdgeMark solution brings to the table, it kind of falls in these four categories. The first is service assurance, right? You're delivering a higher quality service by putting an EdgeMark out on a customer site. Security, DDoS, toll fraud, all these things that actually could either get into your customer's network or into your network can be cut off by having a device out there, ensuring that that's not going to be the case. Cost savings, I've talked about that. And then new revenue streams. So certainly the SD-WAN functionality enables you to monetize that as a service offering, sell it as a survivability or business continuity solution. You can monetize the EdgeMark as a managed service assurance product and put a dollar value on that. So there's lots of different ways to monetize the deployment of network edge orchestration. And then lastly, just some kind of testimonials from customers. We hear benefits. One of the things we heard from one of our largest customers is, we asked them what they see in having the network edge orchestration. It says that we have eliminated or reduced our contract to cash OpEx by 35%. Customer care, it's just easier to solve problems and having more tools at your fingertips to solve problems and solving them remotely and not going out on site. And then lastly, proactive management. So giving you the tools, seeing a problem, collecting a whole bunch of data and collating that information so you can get down to the root cause in quick fashion is really the benefit of that solution. So Elizabeth, let me turn it back over to you and let you conclude with why leverage Ribbon.
Thank you, Brian. So again, a few things just to touch on, just to wrap this up before we end, is that we can definitely help you guys go to market faster within months versus years. You can leverage your brand, not ours, because it's a complete white labeled solution. And the fact that we understand your business, we are a trusted partner with many of you there, many of you also have other products of ours in your network that you've trusted our support services, and that's made a difference in how you do business as well. And then the fact that, as I mentioned, the WebRTC, we also have artificial intelligence and other things, analytics and all that Brian just talked about. That innovation, those are toolkits that you don't have to go buy and bolt on to your network that you can leverage today. So again, we focus on making sure that we have best-in-class solutions and services to really help move real-time communications forward, and that's what we, have for you to package in with your solutions to your customers. So I'll hand it over to Lance. And if you have any questions, John, if you want to go over those.
Hey, thanks, Sarah. This is Blaine. I think we had several questions come in, and thanks to you, Brian, and Elizabeth, and Sarah for sharing all your insight. One of the questions that came through first was, how long does it take to get set up as a Kandy customer? So kind of the onboarding setup question.
So I can take that. It doesn't take long at all. A lot of our customers, as they go through the process, we give you demo accounts so you can play with it beforehand, so you really get a feel for it. And once you get set up with us, we sign a contract and begin to do the onboarding. You can be launched as short of 3 months, and as you heard Melissa Barker from Pioneer talk about, we have some that have gone to market as little as a month and a half. It all depends upon how quickly and how incentivized you are to go to market. Some of our customers have customer, pent-up demand and ready to roll forward, and they need to launch quickly, and so they allocate the right resources. We're done pretty quick with our side of it. It's all about getting everything launched on your end as well. So again, that can be as little as a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months, and it can go longer depending upon how many resources that you want to assign to it and how incentivized you are. Elizabeth, do you want to add to that?
No, I think that's perfect. I mean, it's just to your point, we do the demo accounts first, so you know what you're getting. And then really we set up a SIP trunk between the two of us. And again, like Sarah mentioned, ours is pretty quick. We just need your help on getting access to your site as well. So.
Got a couple of other questions that have come in. One is on interop between Ribbon's Kandy and Edge Solutions. Sarah and Brian, I know that there's been a lot of work done. In fact, I believe we've proved that we could get a site up in about 5 minutes using zero-touch provisioning for Edgemark and phones. Is that right?
That is true. Yeah, very quick. If we need to download firmware, that kind of stuff, that the phone may reboot a couple of times to do that, but all that's managed through the portal.
Very little technical resource required, right, Brian?
Exactly. It's we spent a lot of last year developing a zero-touch provisioning capability for the product. So we've really streamlined the ability to plug that device in on a customer site and then have it recognize what customer it's from, pull down your custom configuration or firmware or what have you, and get you up and running. So that's a big OpEx savings and big efficiency improvement in just getting customers up and running.
That allows you to really scale the business too. So you can cut over more customers in a month and even larger customers if needed.
So I've got 2 more questions I want to try and squeeze in. I know we're at the top of the hour. Sarah, the first one is for you. Some of the advanced features that you were talking about, the WebRTC clients, collaboration, do you see Kandy customers charging extra for those?
So some will put them, maybe they have 3 packages and maybe those being in that higher end package. Others are making the packages maybe 2 packages, 4 packages, whatever it is, and making those a la carte. And then there are others who want to even offer maybe a trial for customers to try it out, see if they like it, and then buy from there. So it just depends on what your market is and what your customers need.
And I'm sure you could provide some guidance and advice on that during go-to-market activities.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, and Brian, the last one's for you. And this is on the CapEx versus OpEx discussion. Any kind of documentation, anything people can look at and read to get a better sense for how you've laid that out?
So we have a white paper that's out on the Ribbon website that is details sort of the CapEx versus OpEx trade-offs. We also have a Excel-based tool that we can help walk you through that in a specific fashion. So we have a number of tools to help you think about CapEx versus OpEx as it relates to your business.
Right. And then finally, just a last minute question that came from Scott. Does each install, I'm assuming each UCaaS deployment, have a recommended use of an Edgemark or some sort of SBC? Yes, we recommend it highly that you use network edge orchestration in consort with Kandy. We think it's going to make your life easier, and as the folks said, a lot of interop work has been done, and this really is true. Take a fresh Edgemark out of a box and a couple of Polycom or Gaylink phones. They're pointed at Kandy using zero-touch provisioning. Configurations are downloaded, phone configs are done, and you literally have dial tone to make an outbound call or take an inbound call in 5 minutes. I often say any idiot can set up an Edgemark, and I know because I have done it myself, and I'm an idiot. So it works really well. And I'm going to close here. There was one question, Elizabeth. If we're interested in learning more, how do you recommend people get in touch?
Sure. If you don't know your salesperson's name, please reach out to me. I will be glad to help direct you. My email address is epage@rbbn.com, and I'll be glad to help set you up with the right person, and hope to see you all at Perspectives.
Absolutely. Lance, thanks very much, and thanks to all the panelists. You all did a great job. Thanks to the audience, too.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. And just a heads up, we'll be sending out a link here in a few minutes, or maybe just after lunchtime, with the replay of today's webinar. If you have any questions, as Elizabeth said, please reach out to her. You can also respond to that email. We'll get those routed to the appropriate people as well. Again, thanks to the presenters. Great job. Thanks, everyone, for attending today. We'll see you next time.
Bye.